Hello, Kaylee here, and in this video I will be talking about the Respondent Analysis project. As always, details and artifacts can be found below. The focus of this project was on improving the troubleshooting process of target groups. And we know from my exchange case study that users need to understand how their target groups are performing. And right now we have some indicators that visually showcase this, but what we're missing is the final and very important piece, which is allowing them to understand why it's not performing in order to remedy it. So my primary task for this was to enhance our respondent analysis tool, which specifically because this tool allows users to pinpoint what happens on individual survey sessions. But because this was kind of a new addition into the platform, I wanted to focus more on the holistic approach in order to refine the troubleshooting workflow and then hone in on the tool itself. So and I know that I've mentioned this respondent analysis tool. You're probably thinking, what is this? So let me show you here. So this tool is something that's in both of our legacy platforms. So as you can see here, this is kind of the performance page. This data analysis tool right here is what they really wanted me to focus on. So that's for one. And then this was the aspect of it for the second. And as I mentioned, it's basically just giving you a health metric with a code so that it can tell you how individual surveys, what the outcome of each of them is. So it's a really good opportunity to understand what's happening. So this project I've broken down into kind of two phases. It was discovery and UX, as I worked with the design system for the visual aspects of it. So moving on to our UX part, or actually discovery. So I did a lot of different research. This was a new part of the platform for me, so I wanted to make sure that I had a good understanding before I dove in. So I got with my product manager to kind of understand the tools in a bit more depth. I then looked in, as you can see here, this was the report they typically run to dive deeper into the data, so understanding what are the most important metrics of that, how do they use it, and then looking at these codes and saying, okay, what are the codes, how do they work together, what's the reasoning behind them. And then I also did 10 different interviews with some of our internal stakeholders to really understand just what the workflow is for troubleshooting, and then what are the workarounds, pain points, needs, wants, all that good UX stuff. So here's kind of like my key takeaways from that after I synthesized it, but to highlight kind of the three big takeaways for me were that users navigate between 4 and 6 pages right now in order to understand how their target group's performing, which is way too many places. Troubleshooting, the troubleshooting path really varies depending on what's wrong, as well as like the user's experience. So we found that power users can recognize patterns much easier than our novice users, which is then when we start to see lots of different support tickets coming through. And then honestly, a lot of the information that we display here isn't as helpful right now to users. So they are having to run these in-depth reports in order to dive deep into the data, which again is great for our expert users, but the data is kind of hard to go through and look at patterns and understand what's happening. And then on top of that, like right now, it takes about 10 to 15 minutes for this report to even render, which is way too much time to be waiting. So took all of that information and started my kind of UX design journey, which will start at the bottom here. So started with those pen and paper sketches. For me, it's a really great way to just kind of like vomit all of my ideas and my thoughts and my questions and get it all on there. And then I can start to make sense of all of it. So I started with that, and then I moved on to do about, I think, 9 different iteration cycles for this in order to get to the final product. And for this, because I was using a design system, it was just easier to design and quicker to design in high fidelity. And then with each iteration, I do certain aspects of validating it, whether it's working with other members of my design team and just talking through the design decisions, or my PM, or validating it with different internal stakeholders. So as you can see here, just starting to like put information on paper is messy, and just iterating quickly to kind of understand what sticks and what doesn't. Another really cool thing that came through, and you can start to see it in this design iteration too, is realizing that I could take some of the information that was in that report and I could actually put it right in the page, hopefully allowing users to decrease the amount of times that they actually even need to run the report if I'm highlighting key information from that here. So you can see that I started doing this data analysis concept, but then I also started incorporating this survey run concept into some of the designs. And then just, looking at different ways that I can showcase the data that allows them to move quickly through it and understand it easily, whilst following patterns that are similar to what we're using in this current product, as well as different products across our suite. So lots of different iterations here, as you can see. And then about iteration 7, I got to a place where I was ready to validate this with some of our external users. So we wanted to use kind of the card concept, but then understanding like, how do we showcase data within it? You know, is it a table? Is it a card? Is it progressive disclosure? Is it this table? So lots of different ways that we could have designed the data, and wanted to get feedback from some of our more novice users, like, how do they want to see it? What do they want to see? What's important? So I ran a maze to do some A/B testing and gather some more information from them. Here's kind of my synthesis of that. And then from there, I was able to take it back, do a little bit more. Next thing was I was able to do a technical review with my dev team. We were actually in an offsite in Stockholm, and it was a workshop that I ran to just kind of walk through how design, like how we do discovery, how we iterate, why we make decisions that we do. It was actually a great way to evangelize design with them. But then as part of the exercise, we actually did a silent critique where we went through and looked at the design from a technical perspective so that I can understand and make sure that I was still on track with that, as these were all new and it was a lot of different data aggregation that was going to happen. So moving on to more iterations, we finally got to the final, which I will show you here. So as you can see, it looks like a little incomplete here, and that's just because this was one phase of the product. We're definitely going to iterate it in the future, but wanted to start with the most important stuff that they needed first. So kind of we'll walk you through the page itself. So it's still in development right now, although I did get to see a little sneak peek demo this week, which was really exciting. So hopefully it'll be coming to users soon. But unfortunately, I don't have any performance metrics of how it's doing right now or any user feedback. But there were several key design and usability improvements that I've made. So we've been able to consolidate the information from 6 locations down to 2. I'm calling it 2. Really, it's just this one page, but if you need to dive deep and still look at the report, I'm considering that one as well, which is great. So it's really all in one place. We've redesigned to display the information in a way that makes sense. So from a hierarchy perspective, these are the first and most important metrics they're looking at. And then they're looking at this, and then they're looking at the respondent analysis. So having that hierarchy in place is really important. And then down here on the tool itself, using more universal language. So we still have the codes for our more expert users, but we've written out the reasonings around it in ways that make sense to our novice users so they can look at it and understand what's happening. We've optimized the visual design with our new design system, as well as it's just more visually appealing. We've added in color where it makes sense to highlight information. And then we've enhanced their ability to access additional resources here. So you can click in and see learn more to understand more about the report and how it works. If you need to deep dive in, as well as you can get the full report here, that full report that I've been discussing if they want to dive deeper instead of having to navigate somewhere else to generate it. So lots of different enhancements. And then on top of that, because we are looking to scale this in the future, in my research, I did gather what are some ways that we could enhance this, what are different charts or metrics that we could put in to make this page more valuable and impactful for our users. So I've done just a little idea here. This will definitely need more research and validation in the future, but some ideas of things we could do, as well as how it could potentially look on the page. So I'm really excited to see where this lands with users and what they think. I will be sure to keep you all updated. Thank you for listening.